Sam?
Yeah.
We're filming.
Yeah.
Once upon a time there were two friends, Tom Russell and Jeremy Marshall. They decided that they were going to go out for a meal to the Gray's Inn, but in a twist when Tom Russell asked for a table for two people, the waiter ignored Tom Russell and told the two friends that they are a waste of space and that they won't give them a table. Tom Russell was really frustrated. He really lost his temper with the waiter. He said to the waiter that they were behaving like a child. And Jeremy Marshall asked to speak to the manager because the waiter was being out of control. The supervisor said the manager wasn't in the office, so he wasn't in today. But he said to them both that he will be back in his office tomorrow. So Tom Russell and Jeremy Marshall decided they would go for a meal and eat at Uncle Sam's. When Tom Russell asked the waiter for a table for two people, the waiter gave them a table for two people. Then the waiter came to the table and asked them for drinks. They ordered the drinks, 2 tap waters, and then the two friends ordered the main course. They asked for cheeseburger with chips. The waiter brought the food to the table. They very kindly brought out the sauces to the table. Then suddenly they ate their main course, and then the waiter collected their plates, and then they waited for their dessert to arrive. When in dramatic circumstances, Tom Russell, he received a phone call. Tom Russell answered the phone, and it was Florian Lemon. Sorry, it was Florian Lemon. Florian Lemon was waiting in the city centre with Ricardo Oliveira. He said they would find them. Tom Russell alerted the police. He said that 2 men wanted to find them and take all their items from the student accommodation in Broom Hill. Jeremy Marshall and Tom Russell had their dessert. They were very happy with the service from Uncle Sam's. Right, Tom Russell and Jeremy Marshall decided to go to Embrace nightclub. Within a matter of seconds, I should say, Florian Lemon and Ricardo Oliveira appeared out of nowhere. The actions of Florian Lemon and Ricardo Oliveira were revolting. They were disgusting, as the wind was getting stronger. Right, later that evening, Florian Lemon and Ricardo Oliveira went to Embrace, where Jeremy Marshall and Tom Russell went clubbing. Florian Lemon and Ricardo Oliveira were very dangerous men. What they were doing was nothing but short of disgraceful, disgusting. Florian Lemon and Ricardo Oliveira tried to take the bank cards of Jeremy Marshall and Tom Russell. However, Jeremy Marshall and Tom Russell were heated in a massive confrontation with Florian Lemon and Ricardo Oliveira. However, the bouncers they tried to separate them, but Florian Lemon and Ricardo Oliveira were having none of it. They squared up at Jeremy Marshall and Tom Russell. The bouncers quickly escorted Florian Lemon and Ricardo Oliveira out of the club, but Florian Lemon and Ricardo Oliveira tried to get back into Embrace nightclub, only for the bouncers to put a fence up, only for the bouncers to put a barrier up to stop them getting into the nightclub. The next day, Jeremy Marshall and Tom Russell were in bed when they had a knock at the door. Tom Russell shouted down the stairs, "Who was it?" They said it was the postman. But when Tom Russell opened the door, it was not the postman. It was Florian Lemon and Ricardo Oliveira. So Jeremy Marshall dialed 999. I phoned the police. The language that Florian Lemon and Ricardo Oliveira were using was horrifying. He said they would go in their house and take everything that is in their accommodation. Jeremy Marshall and Tom Russell were having none of it and were not accepting any rubbish. They received a knock at the door and the police arrived at the accommodation that they were living in. There was a car chase where Florian Lemon and Ricardo Oliveira were driving up the parkway. However, the police spotted a vehicle and it was the vehicle what Florian Lemon and Ricardo Oliveira were in. However, the police got out of the car and arrested Florian Lemon and Ricardo Oliveira. However, the pair would have to learn their fate. The pair would go to court and they would find out how long they would be in prison for. The next day, Florian Lemon and Ricardo Oliveira arrived at Sheffield Crown Court, where in the witness box were the two friends Tom Russell and Jeremy Marshall. Judge Anthony Richard Johnson asked to hear from Florian Lemon. Judge Anthony Richard Thompson. That's right, yeah. Judge Anthony Richard Thompson was right first time. Yeah, I was right first time. Judge Anthony Richard Thompson asked Florian Lemon what he was doing at the city centre and wanted him to give his versions of events. Florian Lemon said he had planned to contact Tom Russell and Jeremy Marshall because they didn't like the videos they had done at Sheffield University. They did some videos on their presentations. that they had to do for their assignments before their teachers marked the presentations, that Tom Russell and Jeremy Marshall had done as part of their coursework. Annie Richard Thompson was disgusted with what Florent Lemaine told him. He was so disgusted that he did not want to hear from him anymore. And now he asked to hear from Ricardo Oliveira for his version of events. Ricardo Oliveira said the pair didn't like Tom Russell and Jeremy Marshall and aren't interested in the videos they were doing as part of their coursework. Anthony Richard Thompson, yet again, he was absolutely fuming. He said to Richard Oliveira he was telling lies and that what he had told him was nothing short of pathetic. Anthony Richard Thompson, this time, he wanted to hear from Tom Russell and then Jeremy Marshall to finish off. He asked Tom Russell to give his version of events. He told Judge Anthony Richard Thompson, Tom Russell said that the pair went out for a meal to the Gray's Inn but decided to go to Uncle Sam's because the service at the Gray's Inn was really poor. And that the waiter was being rude. They were being rude to the pair. He said, he then said they both received a phone call and that on the phone, Florent Lemaine and Ricardo Oliveira said they had seen our videos and they are disgusting and now we are going to come and find you. They then, for no reason, came to embrace nightclub and metals in the town centre. Were causing real problems for us. Anthony Richard Thompson was really interested in like what he heard from Tom Russell. Now, Anthony Richard Thompson wanted to hear from Jeremy Marshall. We told Anthony Richard Thompson exactly what his friend Tom Russell has told Anthony Richard Thompson. But he added to what Tom Russell had told him. He told Anthony Richard Thompson that him and his friend were in bed because they had to get up early because the next day after they'd been clubbing. They had to go to the library to get their coursework done. That was due in that week for their teacher. Also, when we were at Embrace Nightclub, Florent Lemaine and Ricardo Oliveira said to our faces that they're going to delete their video, which we had to do as part of our coursework. Our teacher, they told us to do the video before we did our presentation in front of our class, and that they was us and some other people on the course who had to do the same video, which was part of the presentation, which had to be due in on Monday. Right, Anthony Richard Thompson wanted to think about it and adjourn the court. So Florent Lemaine and Ricardo Oliveira had to wait the next day until they would learn their fate of how long they would be in prison for. The next day, Anthony Richard Thompson he decided to hand them a 5-year sentence to Florent Lemaine and Ricardo Oliveira, Tom Russell and Jeremy Marshall. They could move on in their lives and concentrate on the coursework. That includes the video they needed to prepare for their presentation on the Monday. The end, Sam Jenkinson.
Very good.